Now, another success story, an unpublicized one. I'd hardly heard anything about it, but it is big. It's the fastest growing segment of American education. It's called online learning, and the biggest provider of it is, of all things, a for-profit company called K-12. It was founded by Ron Packard, who joins us now, along with Rose Fernandez and her daughter Maria, who's taught by one of Ron's schools. So, Ron, I'll start with you. What's online education?
Online education is the newest trend in education, where we take public schools and bring them online. So kids can go to school full-time online in a public school. It's free to the families, and we're able to do that for about the two-thirds the price of what a traditional brick-and-mortar school costs government entities.
And when you say in the school, some of your students are in schools, but most are not.
Most can be anywhere, anytime, any place. The way to think about it is online education is tremendous flexibility. You can do it 24/7, and it can go anywhere with you. So you don't need to be in a specific building. You can do it at home. You can do it on the road.
So it sounds like homeschooling with computers.
No, it's very different. Think of it as public schooling at home.
Why isn't it like homeschool?
Because when you homeschool, you can choose whatever curriculum you want. You don't have a certified teacher. You don't have
parents do the teaching.
Exactly. You don't have to take standardized tests. When you go into a public school online, like our virtual academies, at K-12 virtual academies, you have a certified teacher. You have a curriculum that meets or exceeds the state standards, and you take a proctored exam. It's the same exam that the children in the brick-and-mortar schools get. That way the states can tell these kids are getting a great education.
So, Rose, you did this not just for Maria, but for all your kids.
This is our 8th year, John. We have 5 kids. They've all attended.
Why?
We like it because it can be customized. The work that the student does is determined by their abilities, move as fast as they can, take as much time as you need, and we work in cooperation with excellent teachers, and we love it.
And a lot of your students, they may be well ahead in math, behind in reading. They can learn at their own speed.
Exactly. What happens in a lot of traditional schools is if it takes you a little longer to learn a math lesson and you don't get it, you fall behind every day, pretty soon you're lost for life. In our schools, kids can take that extra 5 minutes and move on when they master a lesson. So it's possible for one child may take 20 minutes while another takes an hour, but they all master what they need to master.
So, Maria, if you could just make it real for people, it's still confusing. You're at your mom's office and you're talking to the computer?
No, the teachers are on the other end of the line, and we do the lessons and we talk to them over the computer. And
you can see the teacher?
Yeah, we can, actually. There is a camera that comes at the beginning of the year when you get all your supplies, all your courses, and you can actually see your teacher.
And some critics would say, well, you don't get to be in school where you get to socialize, be with all the other kids. You'll become a nerd.
Well, actually, virtual schooling has a more flexible schedule, so you can do more. I do acting and I do softball, and I have very many friends. I have a big group of friends who I see actually a lot because I have a more flexible schedule.
And Ron, more about that. People criticize homeschooling. The kids won't socialize.
What you find is these parents want a great education for their kids. So these kids are involved in ballet, Little League. We have field trips that are run continuously, every week in the States that they can visit and meet friends. And we encourage families to get together and study together within the program. We hired university professors to do a study on the socialization, and they found one is the children in the virtual schools are every bit as socialized as their brick-and-mortar counterparts.
And their test scores?
Test scores are great. We know the longer you're in the program, the better you do. So every year you're with us, you can gain more than a year is what our data shows. And when you actually start from kindergarten, it's amazing how well the kids do. They're doing 20 points above state averages across our states. And this is despite the fact that we tend to have a higher percentage of kids in poverty than the average school in the state. So it works. And the reason it works so well, it's an individualized education. You can meter the speed yourself.
And you have more kids in poverty. Kids typically come to you because they're having trouble at their regular brick-and-mortar school. They drop out, they come to you.
Yeah, I always joke I have 70,000 full-time students and 70,000 different reasons, but generally it's because for some reason the brick-and-mortar school down the street isn't working for you. It could be a bad school, a bad teacher, or maybe you just don't fit in that box. Maybe you need that extra 5 minutes every day in math.
One line makes sense to me in that, like, I'm a little ashamed to say that I live in New York City. I paid a fortune for my kids to escape the government system, go to fancy private schools, and they learn wonderfully about literature and all that. But they basically struggled with their math tables. But you, I think we have a clip, use the computer to teach, use computer games, which are so appealing to kids, to teach things like math.
Absolutely, and the reason I founded K-12 was I wasn't happy with the math my child was getting in a California, very good California public school. And I thought I'd go online and find a math course that was taught what the best schools in the world teach. And I found a lot of sites, but nowhere was this the best math. And so from that came the origin of K-12.
And people tried to kill this off.
Not everybody's happy, John. The unions went after us very hard in Wisconsin. And what we did was go to our capital, find legislators who would fight the battle for us, and we changed teacher statute in our state to protect these schools. Parents value this, and
they
they're
made it
very
legal,
satisfied.
but the politicians the idiot politicians limited the number of students who could do it to 5,000?
Well, that was a concession to the union. The union in Wisconsin is very powerful. The
So now
bosses
people
at
are on the
teacher
waiting
union,
list.
They are on the waiting list. We have to get rid of those kinds of barriers. Parents do due diligence. They look at the schools. They look at what their child needs. And the public education has to be smart enough to have more than one way to teach a child.
Well, we invited the union to argue and explain why these schools should not be allowed. They declined to appear. So thank you, Ron and Rose and Maria.